Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Fair Territory. We hope you enjoyed your Christmas, the first night of Hanukkah. Hope everyone got the presents they wanted, and if you didn't, well, there's always next year. We are here today, Alanna Rizzo and I, to reflect on the year that was. And Alanna, this was a year in baseball that was, let's just say, highly eventful.
It was so much fun. I can't believe 2024 is coming to a close. Looking forward to what's going to happen in our great sport in 2025. And we had to narrow it down, Ken, to the top 5 most memorable moments of 2025. Or 2024, rather. Why don't you go ahead and kick it off?
All right, I'll start off with my number 5 moment. And it actually wasn't a moment. It was an evening. It was the Rickwood Field game between the Giants and the Cardinals. It happened in June. It was one of the more memorable nights I can remember in a ballpark. It was so cool to see the Negro Leagues honored in this fashion. So cool to see the players on both teams, the current players, the major leaguers, black, white, Latin, all of them, lining up to greet the Negro Leagues players, treating them with the respect that they deserved, and to see these guys highlighted and honored. Alanna, for me, that was just a thrilling evening, honestly. The game was inconsequential. But to see what happened and all of the different things that took place, it was an honor to be a part of that broadcast, and it was just an amazing night.
And I also love the fact, Kenny, that now, of course, the Negro League stats are being incorporated into our everyday stats, as they should have been a long time ago. So great to see that as well. I remember being very jealous of you when you got to cover that game. And of course, you did a tremendous job. My number 5 goes to 3 different guys. And it's just because I know in today's game, it's never about the starting pitcher. But for Dylan Cease, Blake Snell, and Ronel Blanco, it was for a moment. Those 3 throwing no hitters in the 2024 season. I thought that's still very special. It's hard for guys that are starters to go deep into the game. They get yanked after, reaching 100 pitches, 5-6 innings. So that's my number 5 moment, are the 3 no-nos that were thrown in 2024. What's your number 4?
Well, actually, we'll kind of play off what you just said because it deals with the starting pitcher. A starting pitcher who made his debut this year in May, started the All-Star game, and eventually, of course, won National League Rookie of the Year. I'm talking about Paul Skeens. And the moment, to me, was his debut. It wasn't the greatest debut ever. 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs. Nico Horner hit a home run, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks. Just a so-so line. But in that game, he did hit 100 miles an hour 17 times. And just the sight of Skeens finally, something fans had waited since the moment he was taken number 1 in the draft the previous year, just to see him on the mound, see his presence. And he showed it the entire season. That was really cool. That was my number 4 moment.
And then being able to go to the All-Star game and, of course, all that he was able to accomplish, exceeding expectations, not having a debut more anticipated, I guess, since Steven Strasburg, of course, with the Washington Nationals. Paul Skeens was a lot of fun to watch. Mine is in the same division, but a Cincinnati Red, Elly De La Cruz. Ken, the reason being, 4 for 4 with a walk, 4 stolen bases back on May 16th against the Los Angeles Dodgers, and just another glimpse of how exciting this young and talented rising superstar can be. Obviously with the Cincinnati Reds, but think about what we have to look forward to in 2025. Terry Francona, enough said, right? You also have Jose Trevino over there now, having been traded, but Elly De La Cruz is everything that is good about this game, a young dynamic player, a lot of fun to watch. He's my number 4.
Great choice, Alanna. And of course, remember, he owns LA, right? He said that. I own this place. Elly De La Cruz is one of my favorite players. Number 3 for me. All right, let's get to the playoffs here. Game 3 of the National League wildcard series between the Mets and the Brewers. Now, the Mets had a lot of great moments down the stretch. The Lindor home run against Philadelphia, one thing after another. But Pete Alonso's home run off Devin Williams, a 3-run shot to rally the Mets from a 2-0 deficit in the 9th. That was an incredible moment, a season-saving moment for the Mets, and a season-redeeming moment for Alonso. Keep in mind, the Brewers had gone ahead 2-0 in the 7th inning on back-to-back homers by Jake Bauers and Sal Frelick. It looked like it was over. Devin Williams, one of the game's great closers, was coming into the game, and Alonso got him. It's my number 3 moment.
That's a really good one, and it'll be interesting to see, Ken, if both Pete Alonso and Devin Williams are both playing in New York. Obviously, Devin Williams now a member of the New York Yankees. Pete Alonso is still a man on his own island, hasn't signed yet. We'll see if he's back with the New York Mets or if he's playing in a different uniform. I love the polar bear, and I certainly love Devin Williams as well. Good one for you. My number 3 actually is, and this could honestly, it could be number 1, but there's a couple of other things I loved even more. Shohei Ohtani going 6 for 6 in one game, eclipsing the 50-50 mark as far as 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases for the season. Shohei Ohtani, again, we know we can't call him a unicorn because he actually is real. Like we've seen him, Ken, like we've seen Shohei Ohtani in the flesh, and he is my number 3. Again, very much could be higher, but he's my number 3.
Alana, that's my number 2 moment, that particular game. And you're right, it could be number 1. And when we look back on this game in 10, 15 years, maybe we'll be saying, how could we ever put that number 2? Let's go over that game one more time. 6 for 6, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 2 stolen bases, 17 total bases, 10 RBIs. It was against the Marlins, granted, but it was a performance unlike any in Major League history, a performance that I'm not sure will ever even be approximated, much less duplicated. So that's my number 2 moment. The Ohtani 6 for 6 game when he hit 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Everything that he was able to do. Another, of course, MVP season for Shohei Ohtani. The man is just so much fun to watch and has done things nobody ever has and has done things, Ken, that probably nobody after him ever will. All right, my number 2 moment, and I know that this is A, recency bias, and B, also massively being a homer. But for me, it is the Yankees' lack of fundamental baseball in the 5th inning of Game 5 of the World Series, something that obviously every Dodger fan has etched in their brain. Just the lack of good fundamental baseball 101. Obviously, Aaron Judge dropping that pop fly that 10 times out of 10 he typically makes. Obviously, the throw, it was a difficult throw, obviously, with Kike Hernandez running there, but Mookie running out of the box quick, and then Anthony Rizzo and Garrett Cole not covering first base. Just basics, Ken, just basics. And what allowed the Dodgers to do to come back, even when the Yankees were to take the lead again, but to have a 5-run deficit erased on the road against an unbelievably good Yankees team, that to me is my number 2 moment as far as memorable moments in 2024.
Alana, Yankee fans would agree. It certainly was a moment. Actually, it was several moments, and it unraveled their World Series hopes. Now, my number 1, and I think we're probably going to agree on this because it was just one of those transcendent moments in the sport's history. Freddie Freeman's walk-off grand slam in Game 1 of the World Series, the first ever walk-off grand slam in a World Series game. The drama of the at-bat, well, it happened quickly, but the drama of Freddie Freeman nursing that ankle injury, also playing with an issue in his side, a ribcage problem, and going up there and doing what essentially Kirk Gibson did in 1988. I know Gibby was limping more and had bigger problems. I get it. But the Joe Davis call, the brilliant call, Gibby meet Freddie, it was just one of those baseball moments that none of us will ever forget. It was brilliant. It was Freddie. Then he ran to his dad when, of course, he was celebrating after the fact. That was a beautiful moment as well. So Freddie's walk-off grand slam, hard to top this year.
And I agree with you, and that's my number 1 as well. And I think any baseball fan would agree. Maybe if you're not, maybe not a Yankee fan, obviously. That's probably the one pitch that sent Nestor Cortez to the Milwaukee Brewers, let's be honest. But Freddie Freeman with the walk-off grand slam, to be able to do that in such a moment, as you mentioned, the ribcage issue, the ankle issue, Joe Davis saying she is gone, a la Vince Scully, Gibby meet Freddie, as you mentioned, going over to his dad, John Suhu, with the perfect shot, always the Dodgers Hall of Fame photographer, right on top, basically like he was hanging on the net or something, able to get Freddie hugging his dad through the net there at Dodger Stadium in the celebration. What it did to change the dynamic of that postseason, among other things, of course, is my number 1 moment as well. And everything that Freddie went through, he and his wife, Chelsea, and their family went through with Max, and Max being so ill, and, all of the things that Freddie went through over the course of the season. And I tell you what, if there's a moment that cemented Freddie Freeman's legacy as a Dodger, we know what he meant to the Braves fan base. But if there's a moment that cemented Freddie's to the Dodger fan base, I'd have to say that walk-off grand slam is it.
Alanna, it's worth recalling, too, how emotional and upset he was to leave the Atlanta Braves.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to be a Los Angeles Dodger. And remember that first visit back to Atlanta? He was in tears. He's visiting the clubhouse on the other side. No, it didn't look so good.
Yeah.
And Freddie knew it. And he knew he had to have some closure at some point. Well, he got his closure. He has been just capping his Hall of Fame career with his performance as a Los Angeles Dodger. And what he did this postseason, playing through injury the way that he did, that will etch him forever in Dodgers lore, in baseball lore, and a great Hall of Fame player elevated himself to another level, and that home run was the capper.
Yeah, a lot of times people say, well, what have you done in the postseason? Well, I tell you what, I think Freddie Freeman was already going to Cooperstown, Ken. I think you'd agree that after that postseason performance, he certainly cemented himself to make it to the Baseball Hall of Fame. You can see it there, Ken's top 5 moments in 2024. He and I are in agreement on number 1. Differ a little bit, but not too much, of course, as far as 2 through 5 are concerned. It was a beautiful year. Baseball has given us such amazing opportunities, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the 2025 season. All right, we switch our focus now here on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal to our Dude of the Year, not just the week, Dude of the Year.
Dude.
All right, you got a lot of weeks to think about here, Ken. There's 52 weeks in a year. That's a lot of dudes and a lot of dorks. So let's talk about your Dude of the Year for 2024.
There's one that stands out above all. It's not exactly a shocking choice. It's that guy who leads off for the Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani. 3rd MVP in 4 years. And he didn't pitch this year. He is the first primary DH ever to win an MVP. And it's worth recalling that he did this in a year that started with this unbelievable story with his former interpreter, Ipe Mizuhara, basically stealing money from him, and the drama that ensued there, again, before the season even started. He shut it all out. He played as he always plays. He is the first 50-50 player. I don't know how many other people you can consider here. There's a lot of other people in baseball who had amazing years, and I'm sure you're going to come up with one, Alanna. But Shohei Ohtani, Dude of the Year, and probably the Dude of the Decade.
Yeah, I would say probably the dude of baseball in its infinity. I want to say though, again, you can never go wrong by picking Shohei Ohtani in anything positive as far as a category is concerned. I'm going to look at it, Ken, more as you're only as good as the sum of your parts. And for me, the job that Dave Roberts did as the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers when they had so many unbelievable injuries to massively key pieces, the way that he managed a different style of management for Dave, really pushing all of the right buttons over the course of the year, because we pretty much thought the Dodgers were going to win the division over the course of the year. But more importantly, what he was able to do in the postseason, really making all of the right moves to be able to get this Dodgers team past the Padres, who I said nationally, I thought the Padres were going to win in 5, to get them past the Padres to get to the World Series and then win it in 4 games, essentially 5 games, but 4-1 as far as the series was concerned against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. I think to me is the absolute 2024 Dude of the Year. I think we all thought that Dave, having not gotten out of the Padres series in the NLDS, and you can ask Dave himself, probably thought his job was on the line. But the way that he was able to get past that round of against a very good Padres team and do all the right chess moves, to me, Dave Roberts deserves Manager of the Year. I know he was for Baseball America. Didn't get it, obviously, for the BBWAA. That's okay, because there's other people there that were certainly deserving of being considered too. But what he did to me, no asterisk when it comes to this one for sure.
Alanna, that's a great choice. And you're right. They were down 2-1 to the Padres in a best-of-5 series. They had a bullpen game in Game 4. He managed through that. And then, of course, Game 5, they won that as well. It was a remarkable job, start to finish. And yes, he was not Manager of the Year, but that's because it's based on regular season performance, and the Dodgers manager, because of the money they spend, the talent they run out there, is hardly ever going to be a strong candidate for manager of the year, because the award generally goes to guys like Pat Murphy, who take a team with minimal expectations and do big things with them. But Dave Roberts, yes, his job was on the line, and yes, he acknowledged his job was on the line after they went and beat the Padres, but he kept his same countenance through it all, was that upbeat, positive, relentlessly positive guy. And he certainly is a worthy choice for Dude of the Year. And it was cool for the sport, for all the people in the sport who know Dave Roberts, respect him, and love him, to see him get his due.
Yeah, where I live here, right outside of Boston, he still will never pay for anything because of that famous steal in the '04 World Series as a member of the Boston Red Sox. So he's a Hall of Fame man for sure, and maybe we'll see him in the Hall of Fame one day as a manager. All right, from our Dude of the Year to our John Fisher Dork of the Year.
Now, Alanna, there's a reason the award is named the way it is. The John Fisher Dork of the Week, John Fisher Dork of the Year. It's because this guy won it so many times. And when you win an award of this nature so many times, it probably means you should win the annual award as well. And John Fisher, you are more than deserving. The A's departure from Oakland, the awful set of circumstances that led to this whole thing, the way they have run the team under his ownership, and the move to Las Vegas, which all of us will believe when we see it. And now even look at what they're doing with their payroll. They were claiming they were going to be about 130 million starting in Sacramento, ramping up, and they're not going to be at 130 million. John Fisher is a guy that I don't know why the other owners tolerate, to be perfectly honest, but they do. And as long as he's going to be in the sport, conducting his team the way he is going to be the namesake of this award, and he is going to be winning it quite often. John Fisher, Dork of the Year.
Yeah, I don't see that namesake being taken away anytime soon, just continuing with the bad move after bad move after bad move. The optics of this man are unbelievable. All right, mine, obviously, I don't have the brainwidth or bandwidth or the capacity to go back over the course of the entire 2024 season and think about all of the guys that left you scratching your head. So I'm going to be a little bit more of a recency bias here, Ken, and I'm going to talk about signings at all hours of the day or the night. And this for you is for you, my friend. I want Ken Rosenthal to be able to get some sleep, people. I wake up and I find out that Sean Manaea signed at 2 a.m. Kenny, I'm sorry. I wish there was a time, a moratorium on signings just over the course of, right before Christmas, right before Hanukkah. Can we have a little bit of respect for my peeps, my writers, my hardworking people that are insiders and people breaking news? They're people too. They need to sleep. So these late night signings are my dork of the week. Year, really.
Alanna, I appreciate you, first of all, saying we're people too, since a number of our readers and followers don't necessarily acknowledge that and call us a lot of other names. But you're absolutely right that the way the sports clock operates is just bizarre. And certainly signings happen in the middle of the night. It's kind of part of the magic of the offseason, I guess. Now, the Manaea one did seem to break, and Jeff Passan and John Heyman were on this at about 2 a.m. Now it's 3 a.m. my time, 2 a.m., whatever the time was. It was the middle of the night either way. And there was a time in this sport, not that long ago, 20 years, where there was a kind of a blackout period. And it was around the Christmas holidays. Nothing happened. But if you did that now, nobody would obey it. They couldn't enforce it. It would be a problem. And frankly, I'm glad you mentioned us, Alanna, but we're only part of this ecosystem. The general managers, the agents, all of these people never stop working. I wouldn't suggest it's the healthiest environment, and yet baseball seems unwilling to do anything about it, powerless to do anything about it, and I don't think fans care one whit. I think fans love it, and maybe that's why MLB loves it too.
Yeah, well, just be thankful that your beautiful wife hasn't DFA'd you yet, okay? For all of the writers out there, all of the people, all the general managers, president of baseball ops, I tell you, you guys have to have the most understanding and patient wives in all of the land. All right. It's almost 2025, Ken. It's hard to believe it, but here we are. Before we know it, we're going to be at spring training, Cactus League, Grapefruit League, covering the greatest sport in the game as we get ready for another year. What's the one thing that you're kind of looking for in 2025? Something to keep our eye on.
Alanna, I was going to include this in my top 5 moments, the signing of Juan Soto, because it was certainly an electrifying moment. Didn't happen on the field, so I didn't talk about it much and didn't consider it for my top 5. But my thing that I'm looking forward to most in 2025 is seeing how Soto plays in his first year with the Mets under that $765 million contract. He had an amazing year in 24 for the Yankees. It was incredible. Third in the majors in OPS. He did some big things, 40 home runs. Well, with the Mets, the circumstances changed. Now, he was under pressure last year. Anytime a player is in his walk year, he's under pressure. But now he's the $765 million man. So I am anxious to see how he performs. I don't expect he's going to be wavering in any way. And I'm anxious to see as well how the Mets perform, because the Mets now are in a different place in terms of where they stand in the baseball universe. Now, they kind of did this with Scherzer and Verlander a couple of years ago when they spent all that money. But Soto is 26. He's not in his late 30s or 40s. He is the generational talent that every team that could afford him wanted this offseason. So the Mets now are a focal point in a way they haven't been for several years, in a different way than they've been, I should say. So I'm looking forward to seeing Juan Soto play. I always like watching Juan Soto play. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he and the Mets handle this new set of circumstances.
Before I get to mine, I want to ask you a follow-up on the Juan Soto situation. Ken, from your perspective, what needs to happen in 2025 for you to consider Soto having a successful year? What is a successful year for him in his first year as a Met?
Normal Juan Soto year. And it's not always easy for free agents who sign big contracts, or even guys who sign extensions for big money, to perform under that new set of expectations that first year. Remember, Lindor had a tough time adjusting to New York and adjusting to the Mets. Again, I don't expect Soto to have any problems. So your basic, 950 to 1,000 OPS, 35 to 40 homers, all the things that Juan Soto does. And I would like to see him play better defense. He's going to be more challenged in Citi Field than he was in right field in Yankee Stadium. And that's going to be something we'll be all watching. So that's the thing. I expect him to have his normal year. He expects to have his normal year. People in the industry, I'm sure, expect the same. If he does, fine, great. He's done his part. If he doesn't, then the tension mounts a little bit.
At least he already knows what it's like playing in New York with those fans, with that type of atmosphere, expectation, reporters, and the media. At least he has that already checked off as far as his list is concerned. Okay, mine is, again, Shohei Ohtani. We could talk about him for hours on end. And for me, Ken, it's I know he's not going to be ready to pitch on opening day for the Los Angeles Dodgers, but he will be back early on in the season after having that shoulder surgery in the offseason after the World Series. My thing to watch for is what type of offense will Shohei Ohtani be able to do in 2025 now that he will be pitching again? Obviously, the first ever in the 50-50 club. How will the offense match up to what he was able to do in 2024 now that he has the pitching duties back at least, every fifth or sixth day? I don't know if that you can expect the same type of offensive production, but I'm definitely looking to see what Shohei Ohtani can do next season.
I'm very confident Alanna saying that he's not going to steal 50 bases. He might not steal 15 bases. It's a much different equation with him on the mound now. He's going to have to preserve energy. He's not going to want to risk any injury. It's going to be the old Ohtani, the guy who pitched and hit and was really good at both. But as far as the runner, that last year was his one shot. And he knew it was his one shot, and that's why he pushed it. And that's why he became so proficient at base stealing. 50-50 was an incredible accomplishment. I put nothing past him, but I don't expect him to be stealing many bases in 2025.
Yeah, I don't think he will either. Who do you think has more pressure on him? Juan Soto signing 765 or Shohei Ohtani being the one-of-a-kind, one-of-a-generation type of player that he is? And perhaps if Shohei Ohtani was a free agent now after 765, some were saying $1 billion contract perhaps could have been offered. Who has more pressure?
Soto, for sure, because he has the contract that was just signed, the record deal. Ohtani, you could argue, should have signed for $1 billion back when he did. But knowing what we know now, certainly Soto, as accomplished as he is not as accomplished as Ohtani. 3 MVPs in 4 years is incredible. And Ohtani has this baseline of success that he will simply build on, or not, either way, but he's done all this. He also has won a World Series. Soto has not. Soto is going to a team that has not won a World Series since 1986, a team that signed him in part because it wants to end that particular drought. So Soto, for me, has much more pressure on him, more pressure than anyone in the game in 2025. But again, this is a player that we've seen under pressure, and he's handled his pressure moments exquisitely well, going back to the 2019 World Series. It's something he's impervious to, or seemingly is. So it'll be really interesting, again, to see how Soto kind of deals with all of this. But if it's Juan Soto and he's in the batter's box, I expect good things.
Again, and just by signing Juan Soto doesn't guarantee that you'll be in the World Series, but it certainly helps your chances. And Steve Cohen with some complimentary pieces as well. Sean Manaea, as we discussed earlier, getting signed early in the hours of earlier this week. And I want to ask you this: is that enough? Do the Mets have enough complimentary pieces with what they've done so far in the offseason to get them to the World Series?
One more bat would be necessary, in my opinion. And
maybe Pete Alonso.
One more bat. Maybe Pete Alonso, and also perhaps a bullpen piece. You need one more bat in that lineup to complement Soto and to hit behind Soto. I know protection can be overrated, and we've seen that sometimes it's more important to have the hitter in front of the superstar doing bigger things than the hitter in back of him. But that said, the Mets lineup is short a major bat. Now, whether it's Alonso or Alex Bregman with Vientos moving to first, I don't know. Expectation is it will be Alonso. But they certainly need one more, and I would expect them to kind of play around the edges with the bullpen. It's interesting, Alanna. We're going to enter the new year with a lot of relievers still unsigned, a lot of quality relievers, with also a lot of teams not as financially flexible as they were at the start of the offseason. So bargains are going to be available, and the Mets are not necessarily a team that ever shops for bargains, but David Stearns likes those too. And I expect them to do some more things to complement their team, to kind of round it out a little bit.
All right, Kenny, I always appreciate being with you. Happy Hanukkah to you and your family. Thanks for letting me join you this year on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. Before we say goodbye, though, let's shout out our friends at BetMGM. We always appreciate what they do for us. Before we go, let's shout out the BetMGM First Bet $1,500 offer when you use the bonus code FOUL. Get this offer when you download the BetMGM Sportsbook app or at BetMGM.com. Sign up, enter that bonus code FOUL, and deposit at least $10 into your new account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. If you have a gambling problem or you have a concern, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget that Foul Territory is next. Dodgers Territory follows that. Ken is back with Fair Territory on Thursday. Happy holidays, everybody. Have a safe and happy new year. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you then. Bye, Ken.
Bye, Alana.